Suicidal ideation from a broken society. Okay, I don't know if anyone else like hasn't felt dead inside and wanted to end it all in recent times. I think it was about 7 years ago when I sort of embarked on this quest to stop child exploitation because I had witnessed online instances of the ways predators get away with abusing children. And I was completely fucking horrified, so I just like dedicated my life to doing something about it, right? And as I went on this quest, I just I kept I kept seeing the absolute horror of everything. The absolute horror of how these predators would send child sexual abuse material to one another. And they were completely getting away with it. Most of them, right? It was consistent. It was consistent day after day, every single hour of every single day. This was going on. And it was measurable. It was trackable even by the average fucking person with an internet connection. So I just felt this deep sense of injustice witnessing this. Just like fucking so many confusing thoughts. And this was really just the beginning of, almost just the beginning of my entire trajectory in life at this point, right? And I ended up feeling this deep desire for a grand and beautiful victory to come from all this. Like, I basically imagined opening up the news one day, and then I would just see, I don't know, 10,000 child predators arrested, something like that, right? And then that would, of course, hopefully kick off some kind of, like, larger sort of movement or sort of action, like collective societal action to fight child exploitation, the worst problem on Earth, pretty much, right? I mean, you know, pretty much everyone can agree that that's one of the worst problems on Earth, and yet we don't quite treat it as such. So, this all sort of led me into a lifestyle where I reduce my impact in the world. I reduce my bad impact in the world. I reduce my harm by cutting out bullshit, essentially, and removing myself from the systems that only hurt the world. I try to cooperate with people who I kind of have a relentless internal desire to hate and designate as my outgroup, right? The people who I'm not really aligned with, and people who might be a threat to me because of their ideologies. So I had this relentless kind of internal desire that's like plaguing me, but nonetheless, I try to cooperate with people, and even still, I guess I hated them. I wanted to hate them because of the way that they would justify their upholding of these immoral systems in society. But I also upheld the bullshit myself. So my brain then forces me to sort of have this compassion, enough compassion to make effective and like dialectics based communication possible. Like, we think of like dialectics, it's like an alternative to arguing that is instead focused on understanding each other instead of like trying to win, essentially, but like genuinely trying to understand each other. And I felt immense strength from this new lifestyle that I was kind of starting to live by, because I'm now pursuing a life that's focused on starting a fire, so to speak, to burn down each and every system that we've been so mindlessly like integrated into over the long term of our lives. Quote, the quickest way to happiness is to live in service of others, relentlessly. Quote, there before the threshold I saw a bright new world. beyond myself. I will never be the same. I will never fucking be the same now. And this all started just, I don't know. It feels like forever ago, I guess, but the past 4 or 5 years, I really started to change and just become like, just recognize the harm in the world and just fucking pursue relentlessly something to be done about it. Preferably on a large scale, right? Because that's what we need. We need something to fix all of this. So here today, I feel like, in a way, it's just me doing all this work. And I fantasize about dying. You know, I don't even recognize my fellow human beings anymore half the time. If humans are just constantly going to, be selfish forever because it's natural, it's a natural instinct, then I don't even want to be part of that fundamental and deep-rooted behavior, let alone be part of humanity's legitimate goals of succeeding in business and having kids and being, quote, independent, which is a complete myth, and being fully integrated into society. I want to leave life at this point. If I'm the same as all these people, and it's unavoidable to be the same as all of these people who I'm just noticing so much selfishness in, and even if I have to partake, even if it is necessary to my survival to partake in one corrupt system, whatever it may be, whether it's paying taxes, whether it's any sort of corrupt system of abuse and corruption and exploitation, then I don't even want to live. Do you see what I'm saying? I don't even want to be here if that is going to be the default of my existence, right? Because is it, my question then to explain this is it worth it for me, just like me, the individual, to uphold something corrupted just simply for my survival? I don't know if it is. And so this idea of revolution is just on my mind 24/7 because of this. So hopefully you understand a little bit more, and hopefully I'm communicating this in the way that I want to. But I can see how what I'm talking about is going to get kind of confusing. I mean, like I have my bullet point list of sort of my script to read off of, but of course it's probably going to be a little confusing, so I'm sorry for that. But the point on this channel is to try. It's not to be perfect. It's to try. So I don't know. I guess I was thinking, I made a video a couple posts back called I Just Won't Eat Then. That was the title of the video. And, it was making this point that, well, if you have to buy from corrupt businesses and you have to pay a tax to a corrupt government, and if you have to source food from an unethical environment destroying supply chain, then okay, I guess I just won't eat then. And of course the idea isn't as simple as that. Obviously there's deep complexity to even that idea alone, which I did get into, but it's not quite about killing yourself by starving to death. It's instead about being very critical of what's going on. But to some extent, a genuine question can be asked. Okay, well, is it worth it for me to even eat anymore? So much as eat, so much as get around by traveling in a vehicle that uses fossil fuels. I think the question can be asked, and I think that as human beings who have a unique responsibility to care for the world, above all the other animals, above all the other living creatures, we have this unique responsibility. So I then think that that is a reasonable question to ask. I think that it shows that we're thinking and using that unique responsibility to think and to figure it out. So I'm supposed to be like this strong leader in a way, who's walking straight into this darkness bravely. And I do fucking try to do that. Believe me, I try to do that. That is who I sort of feel a conviction to embody, right? Is a sort of leader who leads by example. And of course, that's why I'm making these videos. That's why I'm here today. But when I try to speak authoritatively about any subject, and even specific subjects that I look into and I research and I have been researching, I quickly feel overran with the nuance of each situation and like the overall complexity of life. And it's crippling at times, but that's something that I also want the world to know, is like every time I learn, right? I don't want to learn so that I can be certain of something necessarily. I want to learn so that I can solve the problems. Right, so obviously it's probably kind of bad to have a preconceived notion in your mind, a preconceived sort of conclusion, and then you go searching for evidence to prove that solution. That's not what I want to do. I think I've heard it said that a detective in his office, he's looking at all the nuance of the situation. Meanwhile, there's like I don't know, maybe a police chief or whoever who's outside of that room, who's giving a speech boldly declaring the absolute facts and the certain comforting ideas and aspects of the situation that the people want to hear. And it's kind of isolating, sitting in the nuance and sitting in the complexity of life, while everyone else goes around being quite certain of things. It's very, very sickening sometimes. Like, it is genuinely disgusting to see that behavior from other people, because it's like, come on, we are better than this. We are fucking better than this. Like, we're supposed to think and we're supposed to be rational. Like, oh my god, rationality, right? So I fantasize about sort of inspiring everyone to see the abuse behind everything that brings us comfort. Of course, right? And then I want people to decide to dedicate their lives towards a beautiful sort of selfless journey of going through life and like prioritizing the right things, like prioritizing young people and vulnerable people's lives over comfort and money and addiction and everything that we prioritize, because it's easier, which is, again, it's a survival response, which again further sort of explains my desire to leave life. Like, it's I guess it's coming from just these deep rooted things in human behavior, not even necessarily like the corrupt systems or whatever, right? Like I don't think Donald Trump is enough of a reason to want to die, right? Because his time will pass, right? He will be removed at some point, and my problem is lying in these just deep, horrifying human problems. And, I've always understood humans as like the most impactful species on the planet. The most impactful thing ever is like the human brain. And honestly, that the human brain is where the battles take place. Like the real, genuine battles of like good and evil, like the Great War, pretty much is like it takes place in our brains, I believe. I have evidence to believe that. And so, I just have this fantasy of like, it's a good fantasy, and it genuinely keeps me going. But it's almost like chasing like a high in a way, right? To chase really grandiose fantasies like this, but nonetheless, I've seen what people are capable of, and so this doesn't, this isn't necessarily unrealistic. I think it's possible to just see everybody like living a beautiful, selfless life, just almost like a sort of paradise. But we recognize that life isn't actually going to be paradise, but we can make it pretty close to paradise, and we can especially fucking do things to save people who are stuck in darkness, which is the real goal of life in a way. At least for people who have the same sense of purpose that I have. But I need to understand that. So moving away from that fantasy, I guess, I need to understand that everyone is dying, like emotionally and mentally. Everyone is in extreme pain, and like I need to make sense of this, because if I don't, then like I'm gonna rot away and like kind of go crazy and just like have this festering hatred for others, which is just not okay. And it's just I really truly want to put to death everything that causes death in my life, and not necessarily literal, right? Not literal, but spiritually, and like in relation to each other, and like focusing on good things in life. So those mental sort of things, because I believe that's the priority. But yeah, I mean, everyone I know is traumatized. Like every single person I know is traumatized, and I guess it took me until pretty recently to figure that out. I guess I should say that again. Every single person that I know is traumatized. It's fucking insane. It's horrifying. I just have to sit with that for a second. And then that further reinforces in my mind that, like, yes, like, abuse and, like, as we mentioned earlier, child abuse, it's so widespread. It's everywhere. Like, it is everywhere. It's like oh my god, it's a disease. And that's how I genuinely view it. And it can truly be suffocating. But I'm happy that I realized this. Everybody is traumatized. Everybody is traumatized. Oh my good lord. I guess that kind of threw me off, because just processing that is just fucking crazy in a way. But what is harder to mention and like admit is that everyone also has the same values that I have. Empathy, real communication like dialectics, accountability / transparency, sustainability, wanting better systems for each other, better like government systems, and it's everything else. Prioritizing young people, treating life as sacred, right? And yet there's this thick, oppressive, damp, and like hellish weighted force in the air that suffocates us and prevents self-motivated action from actually taking place. And that's genuinely how it feels. It just... And so I know this mutual trauma and shared values. I know it as shared humanity, which that those two words alone, they let me connect with human beings. Obviously, there's a time to be incredibly discouraged and a bit hateful towards human beings, naturally. And then there's also a time to, recognize that they're people. And this is part of those times, is like realizing that we all share humanity. And so that's another two-word little sentence to just like sit with and process, is like, we share humanity. That's what truly unites us. I've tried to understand it from different lenses before, tried to figure out like what unites us. Like what could I possibly have in common with a fucking I don't know, Democrat, Republican, liberal, who, like, and I'm just making shit up here, of course, because like the fucking terms themselves are kind of stupid a lot of the time. But a Democrat liberal who supports Joseph Biden, what the fuck do I have in common with them, right? Like, I support Trump, right? I support Trump. I don't actually, by the way. But, the thing that we would have in common with that stupid fucking baby-eating Democrat is that, well, oh my god, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, that was fucking insane. Baby-eating Democrat. That's genuinely the level of... My bad. My bad. Satanic worshipping, baby eating, elitist Democrat, right? So when we have a person like that, who, the reason that we can sort of start to empathize with them and sort of try to work towards genuine, lasting solutions through dialectics and like communication, right? One of my values is, it's that shared humanity. Like, we're all fucking born into a world where like shit is confusing as fuck. And then if you sit with like uncertainty and ambiguity and confusion for just a few minutes, which is incredibly hard, by the way, but I have had the privilege of being able to understand that that's a thing that we can do, right? But if you do that, you can at last understand that, as stupid and fucking brain-rottingly dumb and evil as it is for like the Democrat or whatever to believe what they believe, it still is, it's the context that they received in life. And I guess I'm like divulging from the main point of the video, but what I'm saying is, like, I felt a beautiful sort of fountain of empathy come from this understanding. And yet, it's still a daily battle. It very much is a daily battle where you have to choose each and every single time you are confronted with a situation. You must choose the right outlook, and you must choose to live by your values each and every time, which is the hard part, which is ultimately like why I need a group of people with me to support me in following these values. But I think we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, circling back, these people who share my values are the kind of people who I really genuinely want to connect with, and my values go deeper, right? They go a little bit more specific to the specific sort of vision that I have, and I want to find those people and connect with them on a deeper level outside of just maybe like encouraging each other to protect kids and like life itself and all that shit, right? Like it's so exhausting. It's so exhausting saying those kinds of things, because I'm essentially reminding people, like, through my work, right? So I have some areas of work, some channels, some a large social media presence and internet presence that I use to communicate these ideas. And I feel like essentially what I'm doing is is just saying, yes, life does have meaning and we need to fucking protect it, even if we have to stop buying sugar or cocoa or whatever the fuck is comforting to you, for fuck's sake, right? Like, do you understand? Yes, young people matter. Okay, so as a parent, only give a kid, the internet if they're at an age where their brains won't be permanently fucked long term from using it. So it's just like, I just feel like I'm reiterating these simple things, and it becomes exhausting. But one of the things is we don't share every value. So I mentioned that like myself and everybody else in the world, like, we share these values, but at the same time we don't. And it's genuinely a little bit confusing to like try to process that in my brain, because it's like, of course I don't see people taking action and everything, but because while I'm stressing over every single last item, and I do mean this quite literally, every last item that I use in my day-to-day life that brings convenience, like soap, right? A bag of food, right? Most other people completely ignore these details, like supply chains and hidden networks of human trafficking, and like, I don't know how many people actually understand what human trafficking is in the United States, right? And and they also ignore the unintended consequences of 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 life participating in the systems that I mentioned. The systems. By the way, I feel like the systems is kind of vague. It's kind of like a boogeyman word in a way. But I by that I literally just mean every like organized system of society. Sorry for that. That genuinely can be corrupt and is corrupt through, and obviously I'm like deciding, like, in a lot of ways I'm the one deciding what is corrupt, because of like applying my lens of, my values that I have to how the system works, right? And so like one of my values is like being vegan, right? And so that's not everyone's value, but of course we're sort of talking about my values in a lot of ways, and like with this video, so I'm just going to continue on with that. Where I see a beautiful, oh no, I apologize, where I'm supposed to see a beautiful, thriving society and people finding their place with, college and jobs and just having great careers, instead of that I see corruption, like, and I see these gigantic fucking gaps in justice. And I have truthfully withdrawn from basic society to see if I can work towards something better. Now, I haven't fully withdrawn from basic society, but I have withdrawn, and I intend to withdraw more, right? Because of course, basic society includes everything. Like, it includes eating food from the grocery store, it includes using the internet, right? But I have withdrawn from some of the major systems, and I'm incredibly proud of myself for that. And I do not want to be spoken down to as if that is some kind of failure on my part, failure to adapt, because that is what fucking creates people like me to be suicidal and want to fucking die. It's this idea that, like, if you're not succeeding in my little system that brings me little comfort, then you ain't succeeding, pal. And it's like, no, fuck you. Like, I am succeeding. I want you to be proud of who I truly am. And I want you to encourage me to be who I know that I should be, right? That's what I want. I want people to empower me in that deep way that aligns with my values. I'm working to see if I can see if something better is possible. Sorry for like the little fucking trip ups in my language. Like I'm really trying to get through this video. It's really hard sometimes. That's all. It's just hard sometimes. Trying to like keep a consistent pace. I'm trying to like I don't know. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to record videos. So moving on a little bit. I cannot do this by myself. I want to have a close circle of people to quite literally build a version of society that we can have genuine control over and is truly in accordance with like these sincerely held virtues. I have painstakingly pulled from society's mess of good, bad, and insane ideas. Having the perfect ideas isn't the goal. I used to think it was. I used to think that was sort of like the end solution. But rather acting on them and living with others by them is a little bit closer to our end goal, as I've realized. I want to know that the ideal society is possible, even on a small scale, like a genuinely small scale. Like just reaching that point where you've created something small, like a small, tiny little revolution that can then be repeated if others choose to walk alongside you and do that. And even if I am barely able to breathe and just barely stumbling over the finish line, like half dead, I want to do that. Because I had a grand vision for it that pulls me in and motivates me. And so hopefully, right, if I'm not full of shit, I would sacrifice everything, right? Like if it came down to it, I would stop uploading videos and stop using the internet if I discovered that it is an exploitative system and that I can do and that I would be doing more harm by using it than by not using it, right? So hopefully I would be able to sacrifice everything. Every last fucking thing. But hopefully, right? I add the hopefully because I might be a little selfish, you know? You got to focus on yourself, right? So we've been told. I don't really like that idea in a way. Like, focus on yourself. It's just fucking, you know, it's strange to me. Kind of a strange idea. It makes sense as like a survival response and everything, but again, I want to think about what humans are like capable of. Like if we genuinely just lived by all of our values, what would life look like? And when we finally make something new, which is possible, I assure you, then a small in-group, which is what we'll have, like we'll have like small close-knit communities. It will only serve to empower us in our wider contribution, essentially, to the wider society. So I don't want to leave society entirely. I want to contribute to wider society through a smaller group of people that you know, we share values and we are aligned and we care about life and we want to do these things and we want to make like radical change in our lives. Because this isn't about selfishness or like preserving our group as if like what you would see in a post-apocalyptic or zombie apocalypse type show. Like it's not about that. It's about building a world where everyone is cared for and a safe place exists everywhere. This is part of like my original sort of other fantasies. I have lots of fantasies clearly, but about like an ideal society, just there would be a safe place everywhere for everybody. So many safe places that any place where somebody's like being abused or something, it'll just get suffocated by like the goodness, you know? And like even if somebody comes out of an abusive situation that happens entirely behind closed doors and they've just been isolated, like I want them to heal, you know? So here's to hoping that humans' natural instincts of in-group selfishness, like the selfish version of in-groups, will somehow die and be replaced with something better. Because we're smarter than this. We are smarter than this. If you already have the conviction, like the deep little fire inside of you to actually act on this radical change, then do it. Like this is your encouragement, if nothing else. This sense of purpose that I'm alluding to here it's needed for people like me. Some of us can genuinely live without needing a purpose, so to speak, but not myself, right? You know, I want to feel like I fit into society in a truly purposeful way, and I want to belong to like not a cause, but a lifestyle, a way of life, a future that's like better than me. When I look into these gaps of society, I see the deeper needs that we have. The needs that I recognized in myself. And I see them being ripped away. Connection with like-minded people to empower each other, you know, ownership over our lives, both our lives and our land, to build a garden on, to build a homestead on. Building, you know, new and amazing projects. Taking these virtues to heart. Having a healthy society as like our primary goal, among other things, right? So no wonder, I mean, it's no wonder I want to die half the time. No wonder a large percentage of people that I've known want to die or have wanted to at some point. I can't even talk about these things with people. I can't talk about what I actually want in life because of almost how strange it is to the average person. I'm so sorry. I'm really trying. It's so heartbreaking to like see just the sheer volume of people online and in person who are just rotting away. My heart genuinely breaks for them. Like I fucking scream sometimes. Like I genuinely scream my voice out because of what I'm witnessing. So no fucking wonder we're all depressed, man. Look at what's going on. Like it genuinely feels like these deeper needs are being stripped away from us. And almost like, and it just sounds cliche as fuck. Like you've probably heard it before, but it's just like, you know, like base human needs, you know, are either being converted into something that can be sold, like into some kind of product, or, you know, on YouTube, I guess you see like a lot of drama relating to people selling courses, you know, to be happy or whatever. And it's just like the corporate, like bland, like bureaucratic world is just like suffocating beauty and like art and stuff is how it feels, you know. And like it just feels like a revolution is needed. truly. My heart is shattering most of the time nowadays because of just the injustice that I see. And it's so overwhelming too. Like, it can genuinely paralyze you. I have kind of a really amazing gift of not being completely paralyzed by this shit. Like, I can genuinely work towards something. I can genuinely work and be self-directed, a lot of the time, but it's so sickening to imagine just complete injustice and complete child abuse and complete like rot at the heart of society, and then it just goes unchecked. Like, it just continues on because it would be a severe threat to one's comfort and stability to act on it and to make something new. So to conclude, talk to me directly or join my Discord or whatever you think is right to contact me. Doesn't have to be through comments. I'm not looking for engagement. I'm not looking for money. I'm not trying to sell you anything. But, especially if this all speaks to you in any way, then please consider that. I just want to provide some sort of useful project for us to connect and think about real solutions together. So let's encourage each other. I am kicking off a peaceful revolution. That is what I'm doing. I don't want to wait around anymore. I'm kicking off a peaceful revolution. It doesn't need to be violent, because simply withdrawing ourselves from the exploitative systems is plenty enough to destroy them, I believe. So, at the very least, let's kick off an entirely peaceful revolution. And then, I don't know, if you want a violent revolution, y'all can organize that. But yeah. I mean, I believe that's it. I genuinely, I want to use my gifts for good. I don't want to die at the end of the day. I'm not sure, but what I am sure of is that I want to live for some time, despite the uncertainty, despite the nuance, despite feeling trapped. I want to continue on for some time and empower people and like get this fucking thing started. Like, get this revolution started. And I know it can feel kind of risky in a way to like, follow someone like me who's just kind of depressed and like who like are they gonna die? Like, you might be wondering, like, am I gonna die? Am I just gonna fucking give up, right? And it's like, no, I'm not gonna give up. I haven't given up for 7 years. Right? And instead, I want to pin down my contribution. I want to pin down what I can do to contribute to this world doing better. And so, but I also want it to be, I want this revolution to be decentralized. And under no circumstances do I want people to rely on me to get anything done. I just want to provide like a general framework, a general like outline, or just some thoughts on what we can do. Like, I'm nothing in the grand scheme of this. Like, I just want to kick it off. So I'm kicking off a peaceful revolution, and I need you. Like, if this resonates with you, this is your sign to act. So let's continue this work until no one is left behind. Thank you for watching, and let's encourage each other.